Hey everyone, what's going on? Diablo 4 Season 3 is right around the corner, and I think I have settled on playing the Rogue this season, even though Twisting Blade's Rogue, which I think was the best Rogue previously, has been nerfed pretty hard based on the new patch notes. So in this video, I'm going to go through the build that I think I'm going to play, which is going to be a Flurry Rogue. I was really interested in the Beastfall boots, which is the new unique item coming in Season 3, and I think it's going to make for an interesting build. So we're going to get right into the skills. We're just getting a regular attack skill, basic skill to get through the 2 points that you're required to put there. We're going to get Advanced Flurry, so 5 points in Flurry, Enhanced Flurry, which is each time Flurry damages a crowd-controlled or vulnerable enemy, you get some healing, which is really nice. And then Advanced Flurry, which is going to be evading through an enemy, will cause the next Flurry to stun enemies for 2.5 seconds. Stun is going to be somewhat important for some of our other multipliers. We're going to get 3 points into Sturdy, just some really nice close damage reduction. We're going to get Shadow Step, and we're going to go all the way to Disciplined Shadow Step, which is going to reduce the cooldown. We're also going to be getting Dash, just a really nice movement skill. And then we're going to be getting 1 point into Rugged, only to unlock Reactive Defense, which is going to give us 18% damage reduction while we have a control impairing effect on us. Just some nice damage reduction. We're basically skipping all of our subterfuge skills except for some nice passives. We're going to get Exploit, where you deal 18% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies, and Malice, 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. We're going to really be using the Exploit glyph in our Paragon tree to make sure that everything we fight is vulnerable. 9%. This is basically just 9% increased damage. Really nice. For our imbuement skills are super powerful. We're going to go fully into Shadow Imbuement. This is a huge damage multiplier for us. And we're going to get Mixed Shadow Imbuement. Enemies infected by Shadow Imbuement take 12% increased non-physical damage from you for 8 seconds. So whenever you use a imbuement, it becomes non-physical damage. We're also going to be getting Cold Imbuement, so we're going to be dealing cold damage, which pairs nicely with this Mixed Shadow Imbuement. And we're going to go to Blended Cold Imbuement. This has been buffed with the patch notes. It's not reflected on the max roll planner yet, but what's going to happen is it gets rid of the critical strike requirement in Season 3, and the chance to instantly freeze goes up from 20% to 35%, which is actually very significant. And the fact that you don't have to crit, I think, makes this really interesting, and I wanted to try it out in this build. For our passives here, we're going to be getting Shadow Crash, just 1 point to give us a little bit of a chance to stun. We're getting a point into Precision Imbuement. Skills gain 3% critical strike chance when they're imbued. And we're getting 3 points into Frigid Finesse. This is going to give increased damage to chilled enemies, and because we're using Cold Imbuement, we're going to be fighting chilled enemies, and it increases to 30% against frozen enemies. And again, we have that new 35% chance on lucky hit to instantly freeze. So I think we're going to be fighting frozen enemies quite a bit more. For our ultimate skill, we're going to be getting Shadow Clone. We're going all the way. So your Shadow Clone deals an additional 20% damage. You're unstoppable for 5 seconds after casting Shadow Clone. This is going to pair really nicely with those Beastfall boots. And we needed an ultimate skill to go with, and I really like what Shadow Clone is doing, so we're gonna try that out. We're getting a ton of passives in this tree. 3 points in Innervation, which gives you lucky hit up to 30% chance to gain energy. We're getting Second Wind. Every 100 energy you spend grants you 15% increased lucky hit chance. We're getting Aftermath. After you use an ultimate skill, restore 90 energy. And we're going to be kind of relying on this ultimate skill a little bit. 1 point into Adrenaline Rush. While moving, you gain 5% increased energy regeneration. And 1 point into Impetus. After moving 12 meters, your next non-basic skill deals 7% increased damage. And for our main key passive, we're going to end up going with Momentum because close quarters combat is getting so heavily nerfed in Season 3. This 40% bonus is getting nerfed down to 10%, so it's kind of unplayable, I think. So we're going to go with Momentum. It's going to do some nice things for us. Cutthroat skills, which is Flurry is a cutthroat skill, grant momentum for 8 seconds after they hit a stunned, dazed, or frozen enemy. And remember, now we have a chance to stun with Flurry. We have a chance to freeze with Cold Imbuement. We have a lot of ways to make sure that this works. When you have 3 stacks of that momentum, we're going to get 20% damage reduction, 30% increased energy, and 15% movement speed. Those are our skills, and now we're going to go into the gear that we're going to be using. So for the helm, we're going to be using the new aspect, Juggernaut's aspect, which is a defensive aspect, and it grants armor just straight up armor, but your evade has a 100% increased cooldown. I think this is going to be worth the delay on the cooldown because we already do have dash as a movement skill and shadow step, which is going to give us some increased movement. So I think we are still mobile enough to make this work. Plus, it's just going to be so much, it's just base armor. So then that's going to pair really well with the aspect of disobedience, which gives us a % increase in armor. So now we're going to have higher base, and then that % is going to give us more armor. For our gloves, we're going with unstable imbuements aspect. When casting an imbuement skill, you trigger an explosion around yourself, applying that imbuement effect and dealing damage of the same type. So that's going to be another way to trigger cold damage, shadow damage, and that's going to be really nice. For our pants, we're going with Tybalt's Will, 40% increased damage while unstoppable, and for 4 seconds after. When you become unstoppable, we're going to gain some resource. Going to be really nice just for resource generation, and we're going to get that damage trigger. For the boots, we're going with those new Beastfall boots. Again, not up on max roll yet. When you cast an ultimate skill, your next core skill consumes all of your energy and deals 0.5 to 1.5% increased damage per energy consumed. And then using a cooldown now restores 5 energy. That's kind of similar to like the Sorcerer uses the ring that when you use a cooldown, you're going to get some energy back. If you remember in our skill tree, momentum is going to give us 30% increased energy. So, and we have the passive Aftermath. So once we use Supreme Shadow Clone, we're basically going to get all of our energy back immediately. And then we're going to immediately cast Flurry, and it's going to deal massive amounts of damage to everything around us, and we're just going to nuke everything that's anywhere near us. It's going to be awesome. For our bow, we're going with Edgemaster's aspect. Skills deal up to 40% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast. Amazing. We're going to have full resource, and we're going to blow it all on one huge flurry. For our necklace, we're going with Corruption. Your imbuement skill effects have 60% increased potency against vulnerable enemies. For our ring, we're going with Ring of the Starless Skies. This is getting a rework in Season 3. So the new way that this works is going to be spending resources reduces your resource costs and increases your damage by times 10% for 3 seconds, up to 40% increased damage. This is going to be a really nice multiplier. And then Mother's Embrace, if a core skill hits 4 or more enemies, which Flurry, again, we're going to be hitting everything around us, 40% of that resource cost is refunded. And remember, we're going to be spending all of our resources when we cast that. So this is going to give us 40% of our energy back. It's going to be great. For our first dagger, we're going to be using the imitated imbuement aspect. Shadow clones also mimic the imbuements applied to your skills. Casting an imbuement skill grants your active Shadow Clone 16% increased damage for 9 seconds. So Shadow Clone is now going to use our imbuements. It's going to get even better. So Shadow Clone normally just mimics your actions and deals 80% damage. So doing the imbuements also is going to be really nice. And then for our other dagger, we're going to get this Flurry bonus. Flurry damages enemies in a circle around you. I guess I should have covered this before, and that's what I mean by we're going to hit everything around us. And it gets a nice damage bonus as well. And for our rogue passive, we're going to go with Preparation. Every 100 energy you spend reduces your ultimate skill's cooldown by 5 seconds. Using an ultimate skill resets the cooldown of your other skills. This is going to pair amazing with Beastfall boots. So again, the play style is going to be cast Shadow Clone. We're going to get all of our energy back from the passive, from Aftermath. Then we're going to cast Flurry. Beastfall Boots is going to spend all of our energy. Then because we spent all of our energy, we're going to reduce the cooldown on our ultimate skill. And when we cast our ultimate skill, it's going to reset all of our cooldowns, which is going to be our imbuements, dash, shadow step. And because those are reset, and with Beastfall Boots, whenever we use one of those, we're going to get energy back, which is going to let us build back up our energy if we need to. I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to work really well. Obviously, there's no PTR, so there's no way to test this in advance. This is all me just theory crafting this build, but I am very excited about it. I think it does work pretty well. I'm not going to fully go over the Paragon board. I did flesh this fully out. It's pretty similar to a Twisted Blade Rogues Paragon board. We're getting control because we're going to be fighting chilled or frozen enemies constantly. We're getting infusion. Casting an imbuement skill reduces the active cooldown of another random imbuement skill by 5 seconds, so we can just do like shadow, cold, back and forth, which is really nice. We are getting the No Witnesses legendary node to give some extra ultimate skill damage, and actually just all of our skills damage. We're getting efficacy to give extra damage to our imbuement skills. We're getting exploit, like I mentioned. That's our way of getting vulnerable on everything. We're getting canny, which gives us non-physical damage increase, which is again because we have shadow and cold imbuement. And we're getting the Eldritch Bounty legendary node to, when you use an imbued skill, you gain maximum resistance and increased damage for that imbuement's element for 9 seconds. So that's the Paragon tree. Just very quickly going to go into the tuning stones and our companion. So you can equip the Celestial Companion with 2 Governing Stones and 6 Tuning Stones. 1 Governing Stone for each attack and 3 Tuning Stones to augment the ability. Again, haven't had any chance to test this because there's no PTR, but I'm thinking that the Flash of Adrenaline ability is going to be really nice, which is going to grant you bonus damage for a short duration. And then the Protect, where the Celestial Construct materializes a protective barrier on you for a portion of the maximum life. Obviously, without testing, I'm not sure if what's going to be good or not. And then one of the support nodes I noticed that I thought would be really good is the Frigid support, where a portion of the supported skill's damage is applied as cold damage over time and applies chill. So that's going to make sure that we have our cold bonus damage happening all the time, regardless of what we are doing. So I think that's it. That's my Flurry Rogue for Diablo 4 Season 3. I'm very excited for the season to start this week. Let me know what you're going to be playing this season, and are you excited for this seasonal theme? Thanks for watching.